Hello everyone, you're welcome to this live, and we are going to be learning Godot 4.4 and we're going to be using Visual Scripting to learn it. So the first thing here, I've been trying to set up my live for a while. I'm trying to use OBS Studio to be able to host it. So right now we're going to just go into the work. So up here, I'm going to start with the first thing here, which is the So over here, I'm going to start first with the description of the entire interface. So if you are not hearing me, you can just type that in the comments and I will respond to that. So the first thing here we'll have here the menu here. So we'll have the scene, projects, debug, and edit and help menu. So those are the major menus that you actually need. So over here we'll have the scene. So the scene is how Godot is arranged. So we'll have scenes, and you can have a scene that is made up of different nodes, and each node represents an element in your game. So a node can represent a picture, it could represent an audio file, it could represent anything. So we're going to be talking about all those nodes later. So but right now what we want to talk about very well is the different parts of the interface. So we'll have the scene here, so you can have different scenes and the tree arrangement of the whole nodes. And here you have the import. So whenever you import something or you want to re-import it, this is where you can be able to do that from. So here we'll have the file system. So the file system here is where you have different files or folders where you can be able to import things. So if you really want to import anything into Godot, you can just drag it into this place and it will get imported. So right here I already have add-ons. So I've already installed my orchestrator add-on. If you want to install orchestrator add-on and you don't know how to do that, you can check out my channel and you see a video where I talked about that in details and where you can be able to download that. I wouldn't want to do that now so that it doesn't make the live too long. Here we'll have the 3D scene or any scene you have created. If you are working with 2D, you have your 2D scene. That's where you can be able to work here. And we'll have different tabs that we can create. So you have each tab represents a new scene that you can be able to work with. So over here we'll have the different screens that we can be able to use. So we'll have the 2D screen, we'll have the 2D view, we'll have the 3D view here, and we'll have the scripts where all the scripts you have worked with, you can be able to see the scripts. So basically it's mainly GD script, or if you're using C#, this is where you're going to see the scripts. Here you have your game. This is a new screen that was actually added, or a new panel that was added that enables us to be able to interact with our scene. So especially when you're working with 3D scene or a 2D scene, you can be able to be playing your game and interacting with different objects within your game. So those are the things you could be able to do. So we have the asset lib where you can download assets and add-ons that we are going to be using inside Godot engine. Here you have your orchestrator. So this is your add-on. I'm going to be introducing a bit of this when we create our first code, our first orchestrator code. I will be showing you the different parts of the orchestrator interface. Here you have the controls for playing your games. If you want to run a project, you can just run the project here. You can be able to play pause it here, you can stop it here. And here you have for deploying things for Android. If you want to deploy a particular game, there is a way to be able to connect it, so you can be able to work with that. So basically this is just how to play your game. Okay, so we'll have here run a current scene, and here you can be able to run a specific scene. This one is for making movies. So if you want to be able to create a runtime view of your entire scene, let's say for example you want to do a screen capture of your game, you can be able to use this, and it will actually play the game in such a fashion that will be slow, but when it displays the game, it will be in real time. It's going to look very smooth, even if your system is not carrying well when it's actually working the first time. So over here we'll have the compatibility mode. Right now I'm running my game in compatibility mode because I don't have a system with a graphics card currently. So you can also do mobile or forward, but if you're using Godot 4 points, anything 1, 2 or 3, you want to run this. If you don't have that, it will be easier for you to work with. If you don't, you might have some issues later. Probably if you try to open your scene with the forward plus, it might not even open at all, as in my case too. So over here we have the inspector panel. The inspector panel is where you have all the properties, and the properties are all, if you actually select any particular node or any element, you'll be able to see all the properties of that element in the inspector. Let me see if I can select any particular one. Look, I don't have my scenes turned on yet, so it's not going to be showing. So over here we'll have the nodes. So the nodes will be showing us two different things. Let me just go ahead to create a simple 2D scene so we can be seeing it. So this inspector, you see all the properties of the inspector here, of that particular node that we have created. And here you have your node panel, and the node panel is very into you have the signals and the groups. So the signals are like functions that get that actually work, or they get executed whenever something happens. So something has to trigger them and then they will be able to work. So if you have things like, when a body touches another body, then it will trigger a particular signal. That's what signals are. Mainly signals are like functions that connect different, I like to think of them as functions that connect two scenes or more. So you can have a scene that signals or triggers other elements around it. So have here the groups, so we can be able to group a particular element. So if you have a particular scene or a particular element that you have selected, you can be able to put in a group so that it's only detected whenever that particular group is being used. For example, let's say you want to be able to have a scene where whenever the bullet or the enemy touches you, the player, then that will be game over. So what you will now do is that you have to put the player in a group, whereby whenever that group is detected, it will always give you the game over screen. So that's what this group is mainly used for. Then here you have the history. So history is just anything you do. Like if you look at now, this is the beginning, and then I created a new scene route here, and that's you can always go back if you want to by clicking on it, and you see it just goes back immediately. So that's just like a Control Z, a fast one. So down here you have different panels, like where you have your output. So if you actually, it's more like a console here, and other things will come out here. So things like animation, your audios, your shader editors, and some other add-ons that you actually use. If you're using your tile sets, all the things will actually come out below in this panel here. So basically, the major thing you want to pay attention to, because whenever I'm teaching, I like telling people what you should pay attention to is, pay attention to your scenes, okay? Pay attention to your inspector. Those are the two places you're going to be using very much, and also in your file system, whatever you import will be placed. So right now, let's go into the major thing here. So if you're joining the live and you want to ask a question, just feel free to ask a question. Let me put a comment there. Welcome to my live. So right now I've described the interface of Godot 4.4 and what you can be able to use it for. So right now I want to be able to go into describing some few things in our scene. So the first scene we're going to create now is a 2D scene. We're going to be creating a simple game, and the game is just simply a game where a player is just moving around and picking up coins. That's what we're going to be doing in this game. It's going to be a very, very simple game. So right here we'll have a node 2D. So if you're using Godot for the first time, because I'm taking this as a beginner tutorial, node 2D is simply a node that has really not any particular use. It's mainly used as a placeholder. So for example, now if you want to be able to have a a particular node that holds other nodes, so that when you want to move that node, you can group them all together inside a particular node 2D. So you also have, let me just click here. If you click here, you can add a new child node. So I have my node. So the same thing as node, but if you're working with 3D, you put your node 3D. So but right now we're focusing on just 2D only. So that's what this node 2D does. So right now we want to be able to create a very simple player. That's what we want to start with first. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to add a child node. Now over here, before I add that, over here you see that you have your add node and you have your add child scene. If you want to instantiate another scene from another place, so if you have another scene that you want to put in here, you can be able to just get it from over here. Okay, so let's say for example you're in your main game and you want to import the enemies and you want to import the player. All those things can be imported using this, and then you can also add your code from here. So other things you want to just do is just over here. So you have, where you can be able to expand, your scenes and other things, but let's just leave that for now. So right now I want to be able to create my player. So for us to create a player, we need a very important node. The node is called character 2D. So I'm going to right click here and add a child node. So when I click on that, I'm going to type character. So I have my character body 2D. That's what it's called. If you're using the old version of Godot engine, I think it's called kinematic body 2D. So right now it's called character body 2D. So I'm going to just create that character body 2D. So this character body 2D enables us to be able to create a particular body that can be able to have collision shapes. It can collide with bodies, it can be able to move, it can be able to jump. So those things are the features that your character body 2D has, but your normal node 2D doesn't have those things. So whenever you want to work with a character that can be controlled, you need to use a character body 2D. So those are the major key things you need to understand about Godot 4.4. So right now, if you look at here, it's telling me that there is an error, there is a warning. So it's telling me that this particular object doesn't have a collision shape. So I need to put a collision shape. So collision shape is simply a way of being able to define the particular part of the object that can be able to collide with things. So let's say for example you have a player that is round and you want to be able to pass through a door, and let's say the other part of the door, this is a wall. You don't want to pass through the wall. The collision shape will determine which part of that particular thing will collide with the wall and not pass through it. If you don't put a collision shape, definitely if you just go through a wall, if you just pass through that wall as if it doesn't have any collision. So you want to find the parts of your shape or the part of your character that has collision, that can collide with other objects that have collision too. So right here I'm going to first, but before I will do that, I will first create a body that's the definition of the shape of my character. So I'm going to use what we call a sprite 2D. Before I actually address this warning I have here, I'm going to put a sprite 2D there. So I'll right click and add a sprite 2D. So the sprite 2D is just simply a node that we use in adding things like a picture or maybe the picture of the character. Okay, so if you want to add a simple image, or if you want to put a character that can be able to walk, that's when we use things like animated sprite. If you right click and put this, you can put animated sprite, but I'm not going to touch that for now. So what I'm just touching right now is just the sprite. So the sprite 2D is what we're going to be using, because I'm going to be using just the Godot image to be able to do this. So if I click here right now, I can just if you look at the inspector over here, you see that you have your texture where you can be able to add a texture you're going to be using. So I'm going to go down to where I have my Godot. So you have my icon, Godot icon here. I can just drag it and just drop it in here, and you see that it appears in here now. So I can use this. Now one other thing I didn't show you is this controls here. These are the tools that we use in working. So the tools here will have the selection where you can be able to select things, the select mode. You have the move for moving things, and we'll have the rotation and the scale. These other ones are just basic tools that we can be able to use. The one I like using the most is locking objects if you don't want to move them, and also making sure that everything in a particular group, let's say for example this node 2D, they all go together. So if you click on this, that means that whenever you select this one, everything goes together with it. But if you don't do that, sometimes when you move this one or when you move this, the other parts, will have some issues. It might not be able to move together with it. So what you need to do right now is just to add this sprite, and I'm going to use this selection to just I will try to scale it down. Let me select my sprite 2D. From here I'm going to scale it down and make sure that it's in the center. Okay, there's a problem there. Let me do that again. So I need to unlock this because it's actually moving the node 2D. So I'm going to just drop in the center here. So now let's go back to the collision shape. Like I told you, this one in here. So right now I already have a shape, so I know how big my character is going to be. So if you look at here, this is how big your screen is going to be. Depending on your screen size, we're going to talk about the screen size very soon. So but right now, this is where how big our screen is right now. So I'm just going to come up here and right click here and add a child node. The child node I'm going to add now is a collision shape. So I'm going to use a collision shape 2D, and the collision shape 2D will be used to cover this particular object because I want it to collide with any object that comes close to it. So it should not have just half of it but the entire shape. So once I click on this collision shape, I can go over here and select my rectangle shape, and I'm going to just size this up like that. So this means that everything here will be colliding. So I will go ahead to save this work, and I will just press Ctrl S to save. Now I always like to arrange all my files or all my scenes inside very plan folders. The scripts are in different folders, the scenes are in different folders, so that whenever I'm looking for things, I know where exactly to find them. So over here I'm going to just go here and click here and type. I'm going to type scene. So if you click there, you can create a new folder. So I'm going to type scenes, and right now I'm in my scenes, and I want the name of my scene to become player. So I'm going to do it in small case. So I have my player here. Now that is everything I really need inside my player for now, except that I want to do more things in it. So right here, one of the most important thing I want you to bear in mind is, if you look at here, I added a node 2D here. And the reason why I added a node 2D here, so that whenever I'm moving my character and when I'm adding my code will be on this character 2D, but then it will not be on this. The reason is because if it is on this node 2D, when you actually instantiate this particular scene and another scene, sometimes the position will begin to malfunction. So for example, you can add it in a different, maybe at a certain space or a certain place in your scene, but it will return back to the 0 point, or the point that it is in the main scene where it's coming from. So you want to make sure that you have a neutral scene that holds the main player, so that whenever you instantiate it anywhere, it can easily work perfectly well. So right now I'm going to save that, make sure everything is saved. So let's now go into our orchestrator. We're going to be doing some very simple things in our orchestrator. I just want to show you how to do this. So I'm going to rename this. I'll double click on this and call this my player. So I have this here now. So now let's go into the basic part of orchestrator, because we want to write our code right now, and I'm going to create a new scene to be able to describe that. So I'm going to create a new scene, and that will be a 2D scene, and I will require a few things. The first thing I'm going to use is what we'll call a color rect. So once I right click and select that, and I will type rect. So I'm going to use a color rect. So the color rect is just simply a scene or a node that we use in coloring things. So let's say for example you just want to put a black background, you can use this to be able to do that. So once I do that, I can click here. I want this to be a sort of a dark blue color, and I'm going to add more things here. So what I'm going to add here is a label. Label is usually used for writing text. So I have my label here. I'm going to just put a label here. So I'm going to call this my display. Let me just call it display. So right now I'm going to put this at 0. That's what I'm going to just put in there to be able to make this display to be able to become bigger. Because if you look at now, it's quite very small. You can just go to your inspector and click on the empty here and put label setting. All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you. So I have to use make sure you ask your questions. So once I click on this, I can just come up down here and click on this label setting. Make sure you click on this and you have your font appearing here, and go down here. I'm going to increase this as the size. So I have a big size. I'm just doing this so that you can be able to see what I'm actually doing when I do it. So now let's go into the code. We want to be able to start first by doing the basic thing about want to display hello world in this place. So we want to start with the basics, because right now I've introduced you to some basics inside Godot 4.4. Now we want to be able to talk about the basics of orchestrator. We're going to be displaying our hello world and work with variables in this particular place here. So now I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to call this my let me just call this my scene 1. I'll just call it scene 1. So it all depends on what I want to call it. So right now, the thing I want to do now is to create an orchestrator code. So if you don't know how to install orchestrator, I have a video on my channel. Just check out my channel and you're going to be able to see that, and you can walk through how to be able to install a very the orchestrator one, or the orchestrator add-on that is compatible with your own version of Godot. So right now I'm going to go over here. I will right click here and I'll attach a script. So as long as you have installed orchestrator, attach a script and go over here. So I'm going to just click here and select orchestrator. So when I click orchestrator, I'm going to click here because I want to save it in a particular space. I don't want it to be just scattered. I want it to be saved in a specific place. So once I go there, I can just use this to go backwards. I want to go back to my res file, and I'm going to create a new folder called scripts and click OK. And I'm going to call that, let's just call that scene 1. Okay, it doesn't matter. Let's just call it scene 1 OS. OS orchestrator scripts. That's what it stands for. And I'll open that and create it. So now let's talk about the interface for the orchestrator add-on. So if you come up here, you see you have your menu for the orchestrator add-on. You can be able to create an orchestration here. So the orchestration is just more like a name for a particular script in your orchestrator. So it's just like a code in orchestrator. We'll call it orchestration. So you can open the existing one, you can open a recent one that you have worked on, you can save as, so you can reuse a particular script in a you call it a new name. So that's what you do, save as. I'll have save all. You can save all the scripts if you want to sort of maybe you edited all your scripts, you want to just save them all. You can show it in your folder, you can close it. So we'll have the panel here, so we can be able to hide it, the component panels here. So we do that when we want to be able to have more space for us to be able to work. So but right now I need both of them, so I'm going to just get both of them on so that I can work with them. So the first thing here, if you see all your script that you have created, all of them will appear over here. And then over here we'll have what we call the graph. So first, the graph allows you to be able to have multiple functions. So it's just more like a particular graph is a collection of different functions. So but when your functions or your code becomes complex, you need to have a different graph so that you can be able to make your code not to be very complicated. Because one thing about visual scripting is that visual scripting can be very long. So imagine when you have a sort of node that is very long, maybe let's call it like 20 or 30 lengths into the branches that you have. You want to be able to have multiple event graphs that enables you to be able to separate them so that you can be able to differentiate them easily. So by default you just have one graph, but you can be able to have multiple graphs. It all depends on what you want to do. But right now we're just doing something very simple, so I will be working with just one graph. But if you want to create another graph, you can just click on the plus sign here and you have another graph, and the code here will be different from the code here, but they can all be working in the same project file that you're working on. So over here we'll have our functions. I'm going to talk about functions in detail, but I'm just talking about the interface here. So this is where you have all your functions, and a function is just mainly a collection of instructions that do a specific thing. So you have your default functions that comes, your virtual functions that come with Godot. So if you click there, you can be able to have them inside here, while you can be able to create your own custom functions that you can be able to reuse, inside Godot engine. So we'll have a macro. This has not been implemented yet, so probably in the future this feature will be implemented. So right here we'll have the variable. So the variable, I'm going to talk about variable in a bit. So here all your variables will be seen, and then you'll have your signal. So signal is just basically your own signals that you created. Now remember that I told you that whenever you select a particular scene or a particular node in your Godot engine or in your scenes, if you go into your node here, you have your signal. There are default signals that come with every particular node that you're working with. So but if you want to create your own signal, this is where you can be able to create it. So signals are just basically functions that get triggered when something happens. So now let's go into the main thing. So let's start with what is a variable. So if you are new to programming, then you need to actually go learn some basics about programming, because you need some little knowledge about programming to understand how to even use visual scripting properly. But at the same time, I'm going to be giving you more like a tip kind of thing, a general knowledge of coding here. So variables are just basically a space where a value is stored. So for example, if you say the variable for score, so if you say score is just like a space where the score of a particular, maybe your game, can be stored. So when you have a variable, you can be able to have a variable that stores a particular value. So you can have a variable called score, a variable called whatever you want to name it, or a variable called name. So it can store the names of a particular maybe a player or a particular value that you want it to store. Now basically variables have different data types, or what we call data type, because they store data. That's the idea of variables. So each variable can store a data, so you want to be able to have them you want to be able to have your variables. You want to know their data types. So you have different data types that you can be able to work with, and we're going to show that in a bit. So right now I want to be able to display hello world as the first programming that everybody does whenever you're learning coding. You will do the hello world, and we're going to display first on the console, and then we're going to display it on the screen. That screen that we have created, we're going to be able to display that there. So over here I'm going to click on the plus sign here, and I'm going to type my variable. I'm going to call it my let me just call it my command. That's what I'm going to just call it, or let me just call it hello. That's the variable that we have. I would like to make this to be a small case. So the name of the variable is hello. So when you select this variable, there are a few things you can do on it. The first thing you can do on it is that you can be able to change this to different types. So we'll have different variable types you can be able to use. So if I click here, I can be able to change this to an integer. So, but because we're writing hello world, we're going to be using a string. So I'm going to just go down to where we'll have, let me see if I have a string there. So I'm going to click on string. So it allows me to be able to accept values. Okay, so and the value is going to be like a text. So I'm going to just click that and type hello world. So another thing you can do is that you can be able to make this variable to be exported. So that means that it can be seen in multiple places. It's exported, it's exposed, so you can be able to easily see it. So we usually use this when you want to be able to use that the same when you want to use that the same variable in another code somewhere else or in another scene. That's what you want to do. But if you don't do that, you will not be able to see it. You cannot be able to have access to it from another scene. So I would like to do this so that I can be able to change it from another place too if I need to. So here you can describe what the variable is really about, but I don't really think we need that for now. So here we'll have this. Now I'm going to be able to start with the default function that we're going to be using. First, I'm going to try using the ready function. So we'll have several functions that we use here. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to type my ready function. So the ready function is simply a function that runs immediately you start your game. Once the game starts and your game enters a particular tree node, that particular scene tree, it will actually display or do whatever you have put in that particular code. So I'm going to start with a ready scene. Let's see how that works. So once you put up a ready scene, I have this here. So I want, whenever I run this code, I want it to display automatically on my console. My console is just down here. On my console is going to be displaying for me the hello world. So I'm going to do that now. So once I put this here, I'm going to get this hello world here, I need to get a value. So I'm going to be using a getter and a setter. So that's how we'll do that, but we're going to talk about getter and setter later in more details. So I'm going to just click here and I'm going to drag this out here. So when I drag it, that I have my get and set, so I can be able to get a value or set the value. So once what I want to do right now is to get that value so that I can be able to put it somewhere. So I will get the value. So that is my get hello, and the name of the variable is hello. That's what I just did. So now I'll right click. Now to be able to print something on your console, you need a particular node. Now let me show you a difference. Now we'll have the Godot node scenes, your scene nodes, okay, and then you now have your nodes, that's your scripting node, your orchestrator or your visual scripting nodes. Those are two different things. So these nodes that you see here are the scene nodes or your Godot or scene nodes, okay, while these ones here are what we call the visual scripting nodes. So you have to know the difference. So in case I start using those terminologies, you understand the difference. So if I right click here, I can be able to type print, and I have a couple of commands that I'm seeing here. What I need is this print over here. So I'm going to click on print and press enter key. So I've put this here, and I can be able to connect this ready to this, and I will connect this get hello to here, so that I can be able to, so it's telling you that you should print the value from here whenever this is ready. So you have to just understand how this scripting works. And I'm going to right click here to play the game and see how it works. So if you right click, you can just play your scene. So right now, if you come down here, you see that in my console, I have my hello world rating here. And that is just simply how to, display the hello world code. So I'm just going to close this up. Now, the second thing I want to do is want to go ahead to display this hello world on this particular screen that we'll have here. So that is the second task we want to be able to do. Now, let's see how we're going to do that. So if you come over here, I'm going to just simply remove this print screen because I don't want to print on the console any longer. I want to be able to display it on the screen. So to do that, if you click on your display, remember we'll have our display, and that's the display here. So the thing you want to understand about Godot visual scripting is that almost everything is draggable. You can drag out codes from almost anywhere. So right here, the codes are hidden in the options. So if I go into my orchestrator here, make sure you have selected the display. Okay, go into the orchestrator. This display is actually a label. That's the node type that it is. I just renamed it to display. So if you go over here to where you have your text, so any text you type in here is text that will appear there, but we want to be able to change it from code. So to do that, I'm going to just come over to the top here, not in the center here. At the top here, you have the name of that particular thing, or the particular property of that's the particular property, because you have different properties here. We'll have a text property, we'll have the line space property. You can change all these things. You can even change the color. We're going to change the color very soon. So but right now, we want to be able to just select this and drag this in here. So just remember, I'll click here, drag, click and hold it and drag it in here. And I'm going to now do set text. So this time around, I'm setting the value of the text. That's what I'm doing. So I want to set the value of the text that is displaying on this label. So I'm going to just click on this and put it as what is going to be displaying. I'm telling you that it should do that after it's ready. Okay, once it's ready, you should do that. So let's play it again and see how that works. So it displays hello world for us on the screen. So now what about if you want to be able to change the color of the hello world? How do that? So we want to change this thing. Whenever it displays, it's going to be white in color, but after a while, okay. So but after a while, you'll just see, I think I'm having some issues with, if you are having issues with my stream, just inform that. If it's actually slow, you'll just inform me on the comments that I will actually adjust some few things. So let me just go ahead on what we're doing and let's see how we can be able to finish up what we are doing here. So over here I've been able to display this. I want to be able to change the color. So right now, for you to be able to delay, but we want to be able to, when it starts, it's going to display the text. After a while, it's going to change it. So we want to be able to do things like that. So I'm going to right click here and I will type delay. So the delay is a function that we use in delaying or putting up a timer. Okay, so we have a timer node. We don't want to use that now. We're going to come to that later. So I'm going to make this to be about, it's going to delay for 2 seconds, and now I'm going to add for you to change the color. So to change the color, I'm going to come up here. Let me just go into my display again, and I'm going to go to this color. If you look at now, if I go down here, I have my color. So this is the color here. Go to your orchestrator and I can drag this out as a code. Set color, and I'll just put this here. And the color I'm going to be setting here is, I'm going to be setting let's say red color. That's what I'm going to be doing. So let's play this and see what happens. So once the thing starts, it's going to display our game for us, our hello world, and after a while it should change to red. If it doesn't, that means that we need to, okay. So the reason why it did this is because this is actually not happening in time. We need to actually put this in our physics process for it to be able to work. So I'm going to show you a new function, a visual function that comes with Godot. So if you click here, you can get your physics process. So once you get your physics process, we're going to exchange this ready events with the physics process, so it's going to be able to be working with the time. So it's going to check for the time, and then it's going to display it properly. So I'm going to just allow that to run. And I think I'm still having some issues here. Okay, give me a bit of okay, let's see what's actually causing this. We'll have delay 2 seconds and change this. So let me change this. Let me see why it's not working. This should be able to change our color. Yep. So let's see why it's not working. I'm going to go down here. Let me see if this modulate is here. We don't have modulate here. Okay, so I'm going to redo this again. I'm going to drag this out, set font color, and put this here. And that's my yellow. And let me see if I'm having any issue why it's doing that. So by default, this should be able to change the color, except we are having some other issue that we cannot be able to see from here. In fact, let me just do it from here. I'm going to remove this timer and do it directly, so that let's see why it's doing that. So I'm trying to debug my code right now to see why it's not showing me a red color whenever I play my game. So it's still not showing me the red color. So what I will do right now is that I'm going to change the property I'm actually working with. Let me check for the another property. So I have my font color, outline color, we'll have a shadow. Let me see if I can find the modulate. So look at the modulate here. So that's another function we can be able to, the another property we can be able to use to change the color. So this should be able to work for us. I'm going to drag out the modulate and set it. So I'm going to remove this font color and put this here. So let's just connect this. So in a situation where the set color doesn't work for a particular node, the modulate should be able to work. So let's play this again, and I'm very much sure it should be able to work. So you should wait for 2 seconds, and then it's going to change the color. So it comes white, and after a while it changes red. So those are the things you want to do. So if your set color doesn't work, you can use a modulate to be able to change the color. So but the thing I want you to bear in mind is that all these things are coming from the properties in the inspector. So those are the things you want to be able to see. So now let's go into more things. So now I want to be able to go into inputs and input maps. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is that I want to be able to work with my input maps. So I'm going to go back to my player here, and I'm going to create a new code. New code is going to be controlling the character. So we are in inputs now, inputs that we're going to be giving to the code. So if we give instructions to our player, we want it to be able to actually move in a certain way. So I'm going to right click here. Remember I said that the code will be on the character body 2D. Right click here and attach my script here. So over here I'm going to call this my player. Always make sure that this is orchestrator so that you don't mistakenly put GD script. And I'll click over to the path here and click on my script, and that's where I want to save it. I'm going to click on open and create. So now I have my create. So once I create this, my player, I'm going to click here. Now you can actually use an event, an input event, but I'm not going to use that for now. I like using my physics process because there are some things that you can be able to put that will require time processing or use the data time. So I'm going to put this here, and I want to put some input. Now let's talk about input maps. Now inside Godot, if you are using if you are trying to control a character, you can be able to create your own controls. So to do that, you go to your project. If you go to your project, you go to your project settings, and you go to what we call the input map. So you have a selection here, or a particular group here called the input maps. So this enables you to be able to create your own default maps or controls that you want to use. So for example, you want to be able to move up with W, you can maybe do that, or you want to use 1 to move up, you can do that. So right now I want to be able to create a few things. So I'm going to type up. I'm going to call it upward, and I'm going to, sorry, I meant to put it down here. Add new action. That's where you're going to put it inside. Not this one is for filtering to find a particular one you're looking for if you have too many of them. So I'll click here and put this here and add it. Now mind you, there are default options already added. So you have up, down, left and right on your arrow on your keyboard. Those ones are already there by default, but I don't want to use them for now. What I want to use is my own default one. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put downward. Click on add, and I'm going to add a right and add it, and click on left and add. Now you have added those maps you want. You want to now define what controls it. What is it that makes that thing happen? So if the up, I want my up to be, I'll click here and I'll press W on my keyboard, and it will just select it, and I'll click OK. I want the down to be S. So you click on this plus sign and you press S, and you see it has selected it. And I'll just, if you want to add maybe Alt S or Shift S or Control Ls or Windows X, you can be able to put that there too. I'm going to click OK on it. I'll click on my right, and my right will be my D on the keyboard, and then for my left I will put my A and put that there. So you can be able to add other things you want. So if you want to have jump or create some things, you can be able to just click on that, and you have those kind of things. So over here, I'm just going to close this because I've already created what I need. So to be able to now work with inputs, I want to be able to give inputs, these inputs to, for my game to be able to collect inputs from my keyboard or from my mouse. If I want to put on the mouse, I can also do that, but I don't want to do that right now. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to right click and add action. So if I add action, I can put input action. That's what we're going to be using. And if you go over to the properties here, I'm going to go down to where I have my upwards, downwards, right and left. This has been created and it's down here. So first I'm going to start with the upwards. Now the other thing you will need to learn about is what we call the branches, or in programming we'll call it the if statements. So the branches, or the branch, okay, it's another way of being able to see the if statements in coding. When you're doing coding, we call it if and if else, or if elif, all those ones. You use a branch for that. So I'm going to right click here and type in my branch. So whenever something happens, so the branch is not like an if statement. So you're telling that whenever this happens, if this is true, it should do something, but if that thing is false, then it should do something else. That is how this works. So that's what a branch does. So the branch is, so the branch is simply the if statement of visual scripting in Godot. So just know that if you're using orchestrator, that's what we call it, the branch. So I'm going to just select this and put this here. And once you put it here, you can be able to select this and put this. This is the condition. So the condition is whenever this action upwards is pressed. If you don't want it to be pressed, you can you can actually go over here. The mode is pressed. You can click here and you have release. If you want it to, when it's released, that's when it works. So if you press it, it doesn't do anything. Once you remove your hand from it, it will do something. You have just press. Immediately you are pressing it, it's doing something. And then you have just release. Immediately you are releasing. So those are different ones that you can be able to use depending on what you are doing exactly. So here I want it to be able to move. So let's go into our 2D scene and you see what this is like. So if you look at here, our screen is actually below here. If you are someone that knows how graphs work, you know that this is the 0 point, and over to the top here it's positive y, and here is positive x axis. Over here is negative x axis, while here is negative y axis. So right now, because this is here, that means that we are working with positive x and negative x. So that means that what it really means is that negative values in your 2D scene, negative values in the y axis is positive, that is upwards, while positive values is downwards. So if you want to, let's say you want to jump up, instead of saying jump up 5 meters up, you will say jump up negative 5 meters up. So because negative is up like this, so because negative is going up like this, that's what we're doing here. So that, just bear that in mind. That's the reason why, is because this screen is down here. So I'm going to come over here and just click, and I will right click. What we use in moving inside Godot here, we can be able to use the translate. So you right click, you can get your translate, and you just get your call translate. So once you right click, you can get different properties and other methods that you can be able to use. You have properties, you have methods that you can be able to use in your work. So you have methods, you have properties. So anything you want to use, you can find them inside Godot engine. So inside your visual scripting nodes. So once I get that, I can just put that here. So right now, forget about our targets. We want it to move upwards. So upwards will be negative. So I'm going to put negative 3. I'm going to just put that there. So I have my negative 3, and it's going up now. So that's what it's going to be doing. And I'm going to test this game to actually be sure that it's actually working. So I'm just going to right click, and let's go in here, and I would like to place my player somewhere here. I need to use this to be able to group them all. So I'm just going to bring it down here. I'm going to return it back later, but I just want you to see what it does. Now mind you, we're not going to be using this in this scene. We're going to instantiate it in the main scene. We're just trying to learn how it works here. So once you drop it there and the game itself plays, you can be able to move up, and that is a smooth thing. So we have been able to make our character to be able to move inside Godot. So I just press Ctrl Z to return it back to the center. That's where I need it. Okay, so now let's talk about what we call sequence. That's what we call sequence. So sequence is a sort of code in being able to do multiple things. So if you want to be able to have multiple branches, you put them in sequence so that you can say this will do this, when this happens, this will do this. So it's just like a way of being able to have multiple things that can be done in a branch or in different branches. You want to do that. Yeah, Pro League, you're welcome. So you have any question if you have any question, just put in the comments. I'll be getting your questions from there. Just feel free to ask your questions, and I will go back to explain anything if you are not getting it. So over here, I'm going to put the sequence. So the sequence comes before the branches because we need it to be able to have different sequence. Now, we want to be able to have this character move up, down, left, and right. So we need a sequence to be able to have all those codes in the same physics process. So right now I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to type sequence. So when you get your sequence, so the sequence is connected to the physics process that we have here. If you want to have more space, you can just close this up. and I have this here, and I have my sequence, and I can connect this to this. So once I connect this, I have my up first, so you can be able to add more sequence. So I have the first one, the second sequence. I'm going to add more sequence. Now remember that you can be able to duplicate your code if you want to. So but for those who are just joining me right now, I'm going to redo some of the things I've already done. So I'm going to get my branch again. The branch is the if statement of Visual Scripting. So once I get that, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to right click again and type action. So action is for getting your inputs from your keyboard or your mouse. So once I click on it, I can be able to get this, and I have my this time around I'm going to get my downwards movement. So I'm going to click on downwards. So I have my downwards there, and I'm going to get my translate, right click, because I want it to move. So I'll right click and get my translate. So get the translate here, and you have this here. So because this is downwards, it should be opposite of this, so that will now become 3. Remember I told you that the positive upwards will be negative value, while downwards will be positive value. Okay, I saw a video for making a glass in Godot. I just had a doubt that how to make objects images due to refraction effect. Okay, I saw a video for making a glass in Godot. I just have had a doubt that that's how to make the object's image size change due to refraction effects. Okay, that's just the basics. Okay, so that's the basics of changing of creating a glass material. So do you think there are other ways? Please share. We are all learning. So we're all learning. You can just share what you think can make it better. All right. So as you're getting your answers or your whatever you are saying, okay, I'll just still be talking about because we're doing Godot 4.4. We are doing some basics. I'm combining both the basics of Godot 4.4 and also the basics of visual scripting inside Godot 4.4. You know, they're all together here. So I'm going to go over here. I have my 3, so this will be going down. So let's just finish up. I like bringing this down. So this is the reason why we use, you know, visual scripting. You can simply just select all this and duplicate it. Now before I continue, I need to add one more thing. One more thing that is very important, because our color body 2D has a collision shape. If you don't put one more thing, this object, whenever it goes through it sees it or it meets a particular maybe static body or any other kind of body, it will pass through it. So you need to be able to add a new code. That code is what we call move and slide. So the move and slide makes sure that it collides with an object whenever a character body 2D meets another static body, or if it means a static body or a rigid body, to be able to collide with it. So you need to put that there. Okay, one more thing you need to just bear in mind is that if you're putting this code for character body 2D, make sure you put it here. If you don't put it here, you will not see this move and slide. Okay, you need to actually bear that in mind too. Okay, so over here I have my I'm going to just select this, and this. I'm going to duplicate that to save my time. I don't want to keep on writing the code again and again. I will duplicate this again and just put this here. Okay, so I'm going to select this one and change this to my, go down my right, and change this one to my left. So my right will be positive x. So I'm going to just go to my right here and go over here. This will now become 0 and here will now become 3. Here will now become 0, while the left side, because this is left that we'll have here, it will now become negative 3. So those are the things that we'll have there. So let's test our game again to be sure that we are on track. So I'm going to just drop it back in the center like I did before and play this game and see how it works. So if you go up, down, left, and right, so that's how we can be able to have that, and that's how we can be able to work with our inputs inside visual scripting. Okay, so one more thing I want to talk about in visual scripting is the comments. Now, if you're using GD script, you know that you can be able to add comments to your code. So you can also add comments inside visual. If you're using GD script, you can add comments. So, but if you're using Godot or visual scripting, you can also add comments too. So comments are more like a way of being able to help you know what is actually happening in a particular place. Let's say, for example, I have this and I want to be able to tell whoever is reading this code that this is my character movement. Okay, and I'm going to right click here and type comments. So it's going to say add comments. So I'm going to just get an add comment. I can scale it up if I need to and cover up if I need, that place if I need to do that. And in the comments here I can say this is the code for controlling the player. So this will just be there, and you say I have my font size. You can be able to make it bigger if you need it to be bigger. So, but just be careful that it doesn't disrupt other things you're doing. So I have that there, and that's just basically how I can be able to create that. And I think that's just it there. So now let's go into other things. So we want to be able to learn how to do more few things here. Okay, let me see the question that we'll have here. Because I tried my best, but it does make that effect. I'm trying to make it like this. Okay, like what exactly? You mean like my own? You see, it's just the first 20s. I can't see what you're actually showing me like this. Probably if I can't see what you say to make it like what. If you have added a picture, I cannot see it. If that's a picture you're trying to show me, it's not loading yet. So probably I have to wait for it to load or something. I don't know. Or basically you can just describe it for me. Okay, you mean it doesn't show at all? Is it like the glass doesn't work or it's not transparent? Okay, so just keep getting the questions. I will still attend to that. So other things we want to learn inside Godot, I'm just going to go back to Godot engine, and I'm going to show you some few things. Here I'm going to come up here and I will create a new scene. So I want to be able to create my coins. Okay, so my coins is going to be using what we call the area body 2D. The area body 2D is simply a body that can be detected. It can pass through things. Things can pass through it, but it can be detected by other bodies. Okay, so I'm going to right click here and add my area 2D. So like I say, this can be detected, and it has a very important signal that will be needed, which is area body entered. Okay, body entered signal, so that whenever a body enters into it, to be able to know that a body entered it. So that will what we're going to be using when the character touches it. It will be able to know that the character touched it, and it can be able to send a signal that can run a code. Okay, so just mind you, whenever you're doing things like coin, we want to be able to use this to make a coin. So I'll rename this node 2D into a coin. I'm just going to call it a coin, so you actually know that it's a coin. Under it, I'm going to add color rect. I don't have a picture here. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't use any external thing. So I'm going to use a color rect. Now our coin will just be a simple shape that is probably yellow in color, like a golden kind of color. So I'm going to make it just a bit smaller. I'm going to use this to make it a bit smaller. If you want to move things, you can use this to move it. If you want to scale things, you can use this to scale too. So, but you can always use this to also do that too. So once you do that, I can now add my collision shape. So the collision now can define the area or the part of my scene or of my shape that will be, that will be interacted with, or that can be sensed whenever it touches a particular thing. So I'll get my collision shape and go into my properties, and I'm going to click here and add a rectangular shape. So right now, look at the rectangular shape. I'm going to use my select here and just cover it up to this place. So once I do that, I can just go and save. I have my scenes here, I have my coin. I'm going to save this coin over here. All right, so I have this here. Now what I need to do now is I'm going to make this to be coded, but before I do that, I'm just going to create a new one. I want to show you some other things, some other elements that we're going to be using inside Godot. So if you click on the plus sign here, you can be able to get your, I'm going to click on another 2D scene here, and no 2D. This time around, I'm going to be using what we call a static body. A static body is used for a body that is just static. It's not really, it's just basically in one place, and it doesn't react to physics because we have rigid bodies. I'm not going to use rigid bodies in this particular class. We're going to be just talking about static bodies. So it's just like if you want to make a wall is just static in one place, but then when a character body wants to walk through it, it doesn't allow it to pass through it. So we want to be able to use it to create the barrier that will be used around the shape of, around our game. So we want to be able to put a barrier at the end of our game. So it just serves like a wall that encloses the player in one particular space. So to do that, I'm just going to get the static body. I'm going to type static body 2D. So I have my static body 2D here, and I'm going to add a color rect. Okay, so I'm going to call a color rect. I'm just type rect here, and get my color rect. And this time around, I want to be able to make something like this. That's what I want to be able to create here. So Pro League, I have not understood the equation yet. Okay, no problem. I'll allow you to explain. Okay, I'll wait for you to explain. That's okay. So I have this. I have just this here. I will use this for my node. Okay. So right now, you see, I have a very long body here. So I'm going to right click on this. Now remember that your collision shape must be on the static body, not on this node 2D here. It has to be on the static body. So right click here and add child node. I'm going to type in a collision shape. And now I'm going to add a rectangular shape here, and the rectangular shape, I'm going to just scale this up here and bring this down. Okay, so I just have this here. Okay. So that means that nothing should be able to pass through here. That's what we are trying to do. So I can just go ahead to save this, and I'm going to call this my wall, and I'm going to save this. So this wall can be reused. Okay, I'm going to be able to reuse it later. So scaling might have a problem, but we're going to try scaling it and see if it's going to give us any problem. So I'm going to call this here wall. So let me just go here and make sure that okay, just leave this. We'll use this to explain something. Okay, we'll have this here. So I'm going to save this up, and right now I'm going to create a new scene. Now you see how I'm creating different scenes. Everything in Godot is in scenes. So whenever you have scenes, you have various scenes, and you can be able to import other scenes to be able to create the main game itself. It enables you to be able to reuse things easily. That's what you need to know. So now I'm going to create the main scene. The main scene is where I'm going to bring in the player, the wall, and I'm going to be able to get in the points. That's what I want to be able to do. So over here I'm going to create the main here, and I'm going to create a new 2D scene. This 2D scene is I'll just call it the main, and I'm going to right click again. I'll put a color rect again. I love using color rect. I'm going to use this as a background now. This background is going to be because I have a blue character. I would like this to be let's see, let me try to use sort of something a bit shiny like that. Yep, just I would like that color there. So this is my background, and then I will go ahead to save this. I'll call this main. So save. So now let's go ahead. Let me go back to my wall. My wall right now is white. I need it to be probably a black color. Let me just make it a black color. Save that. So back to my main, I'm going to start importing. I'm going to be instantiating different scenes. So I'm going to right click on the main here, and I'm going to use instantiate child. So if I click on instantiate child, I can be able to instantiate the wall. I'm going to start with the wall. If you look at now, I have my wall here, and let me see what is happening here. Let me be sure that the wall is the color I want it to be. I'm going to close this collision shape and come back here. Yeah, it's actually black, so that's what I wanted to be sure that it has, because the collision shape can sometimes cover these things up and you won't know the color. So I have this here. Okay, so we'll have here, and I will just quickly duplicate this. Okay, Pro League said I'm trying to make a picky hole in the door. Okay, and I want the peak hole to be a glass. Okay, I did make the glass by watching your video, and it's working like a glass, but it does not magnify when the enemy passes by. Okay. I think I understand what your point is. Let me see. I think I'll have to make a video on that. Let me see where my pen is. Let me just write down the things I'm going to create. So a peak hole glass that magnifies the enemy when it passes. Okay, I think I understand your question now. I understand your question now. It is essentially working like a plane mirror. Yeah. So I'm going to make a tutorial specifically for that. Okay, I've written that down, and I'll make a video just to answer that particular question. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm working on 2D right now, so to start with a 3D scene might take some time for me to set it up. Okay, so but basically, okay, so I'm trying to show to that effect in a video, but I'm unable to show it. Okay, I understand your question right now, so I'm going to make a video showing how to do pick hole magnifier, so where you just have a hole where you can look in and it magnifies. So I'm suspecting that it might require code, but also try to play around with the refraction. I think it might help. Play around with your refraction, it might help. If it doesn't help, I will just still make a video for that, and I will answer that question in details. So right now, let's just go back to our video. If you have any other question, you can just ask. I will just write it down and I will get back to you on that with a tutorial video. So I'll duplicate this. Make sure you select your wall, duplicate it, and I have another wall here. And I'm going to duplicate this one and I have a new wall here. I'm going to rotate it with this tool here. Rotate. If you're not sure, you can go to your transform and check the rotation. If it is 90 degrees, you can just click in here, type 90 degrees. And I can use this to just bring this here. So let's try scaling this, and you can actually scale it from here too. So but sometimes because it has this, it can give you errors. Okay, it's not giving us any error, so we'll just use it that way. Select that, scale, okay, and I'm going to just put that there. Duplicate this. If you have any question based on what I'm doing, you can just ask me and I'll answer your question. So I have this. So right now the player is going to be within this particular place. That's what will be happening in this game now. So although it can move around, but it's constrained in a particular space. So now for me to be able to make this easy for me, I always like arranging my things in with my nodes. So right now I'm going to right click here and add a new node, 2D. So you can use a node or you can use a node 2D. All of them works. So I'll just call this my back. I'll call it my back drop. Let me just call it back drop. And I'm going to get both my color right, that's the floor itself and the walls, and then put them into that place. So this will enable me to just snap this, and you see everything just snaps out. So it helps you to remain, you know, very planned in whatever you're doing. So over here, I need to now go on to add some other few things, and that is to instantiate my player. I'm going to get in my player. So now if you look at what is happening right now, remember I told you we need to return this guy to the center here. Make sure he's in the center so that the center of alignment will not have a problem later. So just go over here and let's bring him back again. So this is my player and the player is over here. So we can just drop him in the center here. It's quite big, but we're going to just work with that for the meantime. If you need him to be smaller, you can just go into your player here and go to the sprites. Just scale down the sprite itself. Go to the collision and use these red things to scale it down more. Save it, and if you go back to your main, you see that it becomes even smaller. I think it's too tiny. It's too tiny. So we don't want to be looking for a player whenever we are playing. We just want it to be a bit, at least a bit bigger. Okay, I hope I didn't return it back to the former size. Okay, I think it's a bit bigger now. So now let's just go on to see. We'll have the coin here, and then we'll have the wall. So let's create one more thing. So right now, if you just play this game, let's go ahead and play this game and see what it's gonna look like. So once you play this game, you can be able to move around the game. and you can be able to do a few things. So like right now you have this, you can move and you can pass through this. So you see, you can pass through. It just constrains you within this space. So that's what it does to you. So our goal has been achieved. So I'm just going to close this now, and I need to now make this happen. So I'm going to click here, and I want to be able to add a new thing, and that will be my UI, my user interface. Now remember, we want to be able to spawn our coins. We want to be able to spawn coins. So probably we are going to try two things. Either we are going to make it to be falling from the sky, or we're going to spawn it in different locations. We're going to have different locations, and we're going to see how fast the player can be able to go to pick up those coins in different locations where they are located. So we want to be able to start with our UI. So the UI will be counting, you know, when you pick up a coin, it's going to count the coin that you have picked up, and it's going to just be counting it. Okay, so probably we're going to make it in such a fashion that if you are able to pick up the coin before the time runs out, or maybe you're going to just put up an invisible time. We're going to start with that. We're not going to put up a real time yet. So we're going to put up an invisible time. If you don't finish up picking up a specific number of coins before the time runs out, then that will be game over for you. So to do that, I'm going to just add, if you look at here, we already have a user interface. If you click on user interface, you see that the name of the node that controls the UI is called control. Now what control does is that even if you're using a 2D game or a 3D game where the character is moving into different places, the UI remains up. That's the HUD, the head display. It remains there no matter wherever you go. If you use a normal label there, it will just remain there. When the player moves out, that thing remains there and it just forgets it there. So but when you use the control to be the parent node of all the other elements, all those elements will appear in that particular place that you want it to be. So right now I have this, I'm going to just rename this from control to UI. So UI, let me call it UI underscore control. I think I'll make it UI control. I'm going to just call that, and I'm going to right click and add a child. Is going to be a label. So the label is going to be, I'm going to call this, this would be my coin. So the coin label, so this is just, let me call it coin label. So the coin label will be just written coin. So that's what will be written on it, just coin. And you can change it from the label setting here. If you click here, you can be able to click on that and just click here, go into your fonts, and you can increase it. So you can change the color if you need to change it. Let me see what our background looks like. Our background is already white, so we need to change that to a different color. So we need to change it to probably a red color. Okay, so we'll have that. So I'm going to just quickly duplicate this, Ctrl D on it, and I'm going to put this here, and this will be my 0. So this 0 will be the default value I have for the coin. So you're going to start from 0, and this will be my coin counter. So this is where the value will be counting. Whenever you pick up a coin, it's going to just keep on picking up the coins. That's what it's going to be doing. So over here, okay, I think I'll leave it this way and save this, and that will be my UI control. I will save the UI control and go back to my main, and I will right click here and instantiate this, instantiate the child node, and that will be my UI. So if you look at now, I already have it in here. Okay, so this is just all that we need. Now for us to be able to use this properly, we'll make sure that these things are okay. These things are okay. So now I need to now get one more thing. So the thing we want to create right now is what we're going to be using to spawn. So now I've been talking about the Godot itself. Let's go back to our visual scripting. So we're going to be doing some other functions, or we're going to be doing some other few things we're going to be working with. So what we're going to be working with right now, we're going to start with a new 2D scene. This 2D new scene is just going to be an element, something that spawns something. So this is the original one, that's the parent node. Let's call it the spawner or the coin spawner. I'm going to put another node 2D on it. Let me call this the spawn point. So that's what I have right now, the spawn point. That's what I'm calling it. So because the code is going to be here, like I told you, you never put your code in this root node here. We can do that maybe in the main node because it's not really moving. But these ones that you are moving here and there, you want to just make sure this is the holder. You can even call it spawn spawner holder if it's more descriptive for you to know what it's really used for. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new script. Okay, this new script can be able to spawn our coin whenever we are working. Now we have not done anything on the coin yet, so I'm just going to right click here and I'm going to attach a script here. So call it the spawn coin. That's what we're going to call this code. And I'm going to click here and add my scripts and just open the scripts and create it. So over here I'm going to just come up here and make sure let me look at my this, click here, and I'm going to get my physics process. That's what I'm going to use here. Okay, so I'm going to use physics process, but if I want to make things even easier for myself, I'm going to use a timer so that it's timed. So if I use the physics process, that means I have to actually put up a time. So, but I want to also show you another node that we're going to be using. So that node, I'm going to just delete this, and that node is what we call the timer. So if I right click here, I can put up a timer here. So the timer node is used to set up a time that whenever you elapse, something will happen. So I'll be combining this with my functions and my signals in this particular place. So I'm going to start with first how to work with signals. So right here I have my timer here, and the timer by default is 1 second. So I can say I can leave it at 1 second or I can leave it at 2 seconds. However I want to do it, I can be able to do that. So I will leave it at 1 second for now. And now I have one shot. One shot means that it's just going to do once and it's not going to repeat. But if I want it to be repeating or start on its own, if I want it to be repeating, I will leave it. I will not check this one shot. So also I want it to start on its own. I don't want. Okay, and it's back again. So right here, I can be able to just go ahead to create my timer signal. So that's the function we're going to be using. We're going to be using a signal, and that's the type of function that gets activated when something happens. So I'm going to click that gets activated when something happens. So I'm going to click on the timer here. The timer is already 1 second. I'm going to timer here. I'm going to go to my timeout here, and once I click on my timeout, if I click on my timeout right here, I can be able to connect it to the code. So right here I have my spawn point code. I'm going to see on timer timeouts. I'm going to call it on spawn underscore timer timeouts. You should do something. So this is my signal. So signal, whenever my time that my 1 second times out is going to starts again to do something. It's going to do that particular thing again and again. It's just like a way of being able to redo a particular thing. So I'm going to use my timer here. Now I need to delay first so that I can be able to have control. Yeah, that crazy dragon, welcome. It's going fine. So I'm using a stream app to actually stream today. So that's the reason why it's far more stable than streaming directly from YouTube. So that's what we're doing now. So you're welcome. So about the project you actually asked me about, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on a video player as a software using video scripting, so that at least you will learn how to work with video scripting to create different software. So it's not just only for making video games only. So I hope you have joined the Discord channel. Join the Discord, okay? So you can join there if you want us to be able to chat. But I think you're the one that told me to, create that the last time. So over here, I have this here, and I'm going to just go ahead to put a code. So the code here is that the code is going to make this character to be able to, it's going to be able to spawn the coin wherever it is. So I'm going to save this, and I'll call this my coin spawner. I'm just going to call it my coin spawner. So I have this here. So let's put up the code. So the code now is going to be this way. So first, I'm going to get a scene 3. So I'll type scene and I'll get a scene 3. Okay. I want to see if you could maybe get it working with video scripting. It's an AI tool for coding. Okay. What's the name? Okay, so I'm going to just drag this out. This is my get scene tree. I'm going to drag this out, and I want to be able to get instantiate. So you can just get instantiate. That's what we really need. So, and you can also get this without that. You can get instantiate here. Okay, you can just type instantiate, and you can be able to get instantiate scene there. So I don't really think we need this. Okay. So now, but before we do that, we need to be able to delay this. We don't want it to be happening immediately. We want to be able to delay it for a while. The reason is that it will enable us to be able to give it a random thing. Okay, so we want it to be able to appear and then maybe delete, appear, delete. We just want it to be appearing on its own, and it's not going to be appearing at a static time. But right now we just have 1 second, so we want to be able to make it. Okay, that's what we want us to create. That's so create dragon is saying that's okay what you want me to create, right? So right here I have this, and I'm going to add, right click here, and I'm going to put a delay, and I'm put up the delay there. So for a delay, I'm going to just put this here. Now I'm going to come to putting a random number here. Let's just leave this for now. 1 second is what it needs, and it was going to instantiate. So what is it going to instantiate? I'm going to click on assign, and I'm going to go to my scene, and I'm going to select my coin. That's what I want it to instantiate. So what is it going to? Where is it going to be instantiating it? I will just drag this out here and type child. So this code I'm writing now is the code for spawning objects. If you want to spawn things, you can just spawn them at a specific point. So it will delay, instantiate, and then add it as a child of that particular node that you have. Okay. Okay, so let me just write that down. AI2 by Zenva. Okay, so Chris Dragon, you want me to make a tutorial on how to use it. Can you describe what you exactly want me to do so that I will actually understand your question? So coming back to this, I have this here now, and I'm going to I don't need this any longer. So right now I'm just going to do this. Let me just put this up and you'll see what will happen. So I'm playing the game right now. So I want to make a paint software with it using view scripting. Okay. Okay, so if you look at here now, let me bring it down so you can actually see it. Let me bring it down to this point. Let's select here and bring it to the center here, and let's play it again, and you see it appearing to the center. So after a while, it just instantiates. So that's it at the top there. So let me see why it's doing that. Okay, because I moved it. So I cannot move it from here. That's the reason why it's doing that. So, but if you look at the top edge here, it actually instantiates. So let me just do it from the main scene, so you actually appreciate what is really happening. So I'm going to just come in here, and I will create a new Node 2D. So this Node 2D will be our spawn holder 1_1. So I'm going to have multiple versions of them. I'm going to right click there, instantiate a child, and add my con spawner here. So I can just select this and just move it. Let me make sure that it's going together. Move it to somewhere here, and let's play this. Okay, let me see what Chris Dragon is saying. See if you could get it working with orchestrator. Okay, all right. So let's see, and we keep on still having the coin appearing at the top here, and we need to stop that. So let's see why it's doing that. So the reason why it's probably doing that is because we have our code at on this port here. So but that should not, let me see why it's doing that. Let me see, it does this, and that is not meant to be happening. So except if I have to change the spawn points. Let's change this to, let's try to solve this problem, because we're having a problem here where whenever we instantiate, it will actually come and put that coin at the point here. So I'm just going to make this to be the parent, the root node. So I'll right click and make this the root node, and let's see if it will change that for us. So I'm going to go back to my main here and look at this. Okay. I think I'm having an idea of what is happening here. Okay, let's see. So I've moved these points to this place. So let me just play it again and see how it's it changes. So we are just having a bit of bug appearance of our code is happening somewhere we don't want it. So let's see We want it to appear in the center here. And it's still appearing at the top. So let me go back and see how we can resolve that. So right here we'll have this thing here, and we'll have this code here. So we'll have delay, we'll have the scene, and we'll have that. Let me go down to where we'll have this folder here. This is a node. Okay. Let's see. Let's change this guy. Let's rewrite this code because we have a node here and it seems like it's having some issues. I'm going to be using, I will change this type to a node 2D. Let me see if I can have more control over it. And I'm going to remove the target scripts and also this timer. I'm going to write this entire code again so that I'll be sure that it's not what I'm thinking. Now this thing I'm doing right now can cause a code error. This usually causes code error in visual scripting. So look at here, I have this, and in fact I'm going to do this so that you actually see how to delete codes. So if you make a mistake and you won't delete a particular code, I have my spawn coin here, and I will just go and delete it from here. Make sure, like I said in the beginning, you can close this from here, and then you can delete it from there. Delete it from here, and it has been deleted from all these places, so we can be able to work with that. So I'm going to write this code. I'm going to come here again, click, attach a script. So I'm going to call it my spawn coin. Click on path. Go into my script again and click on open, and I'm going to create it. So it's going to come back again. So right now I will select my timer and go into my node panel here, select my timeout and connect it to this spawn points timer here. So I'm going to call it spawn timer timeout. And I'm going to connect it. So I'm going to add my delay again. Right click, type delay, and just put this here. Then right click and put in my instantiate. So get my instantiate there, put this here, click here, and I'm going to get my scene, and that my scene is my coin. And I will drag from here, make sure you drag from here, and you're going to type child and just put this here. So once you do that, you have this here. Save your work, and let's go ahead to go back to our main. I'm going to delete this and bring it back again. Instantiate the con spawner. So this one now, this particular thing here is in the center here. That's what we want it to be, and because this is child, it's going to be under it. And I'm going to just play this and see what it's going to look like. If this doesn't work, that means that we'll have an error, something we'll have to resolve beyond the code. And I think that's the problem. The node is the node, because the node called node, that node is what was causing the problem. So you see our corners are actually appear here. So that's what we wanted. So what we did to resolve it is that we went to this place, we went to here, and we changed the type, okay, from node to node 2D. That's what we did to resolve that. So that has been resolved. So let's go back now and make this more interesting. So the first thing we want to do is that we want this thing to appear randomly. We don't want it to appear. So we're going to use what we call random numbers in visual scripting. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to type rand. So if you look at here, we'll have random range. So randy I range. So we'll have randy I think F range, that's for flute number. So I'm going to use an integer number. So if you want to use flutes, you can be able to use flute, will have more numbers. So I'm going to drop this here and I'm going to just do 1 to about 6. So that means it's going to be checking each time. It's going to just select a random number each time the iteration comes up. It's going to select a random number and it's going to display it maybe after 1 second or 3 seconds or 5 seconds. So the appearance will be very, very unpredictable. So I'm going to come over here. Now I want whenever it appears after a specific amount of time, it's going to disappear. That's what I want it to do. So for it to disappear, I need to use what we call queue-free delete. So I'm going to first right click and add a delay. So I want it to appear for about 2 seconds. I can make this also to be random, but I don't want to do that right now. Then I'll right click and I'll type queue-free. So if you go down, you see queue-free there. So queue-free is or let's call it a method or a particular property. Let me see if it's queue-free, and that should be a method. Yeah, it's a method that can be used to delete a particular object that is no more in use. So once after 2 seconds, it's going to delete that particular coin. That's what we want it to do. Then after some kind of seconds, it's going to bring up another one. So we'll just save that and let's go back to our main and play. So it appears after how many seconds, I don't even know. Okay, it appears there and it goes off. Okay, so I think we're going to run into some code problems here now. So some conflicting codes started happening. Let me see where it's giving us a problem, an error. So it says, okay, this is just from my system. It's not really from the code, it's from my system. Let me run it again and hope it doesn't happen. So it's telling me that low quality OpenGL switching to Angle. So it's trying to switch because of the rendering that it's actually doing. That's what it's actually telling me. Let's see how fast it's going to be able to do. So we're going to be moving. It appears and we want to be able to pick it up before it disappears, and our code is having some issues, so probably we might need to change a few things in our code. So but it's not showing us why. Okay, I think it's just my video card driver is the reason why it's doing that. So just let's leave it that way for now. I believe if you have a good system, you should be able to run that properly on your system. So now what we want to do right now is that we want to be able to make this coin to be collectible. So we want to be able to collect this coin, and when we collect it, we want to be able to display on the UI. Remember, we have our UI control. Whenever we touch that coin, it's going to display here. So to do that, we're going to create a new code. Okay, so the code we're going to be creating now, it's going to be in our main script because that's where we want to be able to have that displayed. Okay, so I'm going to attach a script. The name of the script is going to be main. I will click on this and go into my scripts. So if I go into my script, I'm going to click on that. So it's putting it in the scripts and I'll create it. So now I've created it. All I need to do right now is first I'm going to start with a variable. The name of the variable will be coin. That's what I need to do. So I'm creating the coin variable in the main script. So the whole changes will be happening in the coins, but the updating of the UI will be happening inside my main script. So I will show you how I'm going to do that. And I will select it. The most important part is that it's going to be an integer. It's going to have a value of 0, and I will export it because I need to I need to be able to have access to it from another code, from the coin scene. So now I will now go into my coin scene and I will create another code. So I hope this is not getting confused. I've created a code in my main scene. I think when I'm done, I might have to make this available for those. If you want to be able to have access to this particular project file, you can put in the comments and I'll make it available for you to study this code later, when this video is now uploaded. So if I right click here, I can be able to go to attach scripts, and I'm going to call this my coin, and I'll click here and click on my scripts and just open it up and just create it. Okay, so now we want, whenever this happens, when we're going to use a physics process. Let me see if I can use I might use a physics process for that, or I can use other things, but I will try to see the best one that will work for us. Let me see. Okay, so I think what I will be doing is I'm not going to be using a function here. I'm going to be using a signal too, to be able to do some few things here. All right, so let me just go in, and since I've already created the code here, I'm going to use a signal. So the signal is the function I'm going to use here. So see how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to first go into my node. Remember, I'm selecting this my area 2D. If you have been here since the beginning of this, I told you about the area 2D. It enables you, it detects a body when a body touches it. So I'm going to select it and go into my node and go into my signals and go into my body entered. So when a body enters into it, it's going to know. So once I do that, I will just come up here and click on connect. So remember, I've created a node here. I'm going to call it on coin underscore body entered and click on connect. So once I connect it, I'm going to now come off all over here, and I have this here now. So I need to tell it to check for the group, because I'm going to make it to only happen when the player touches it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to right click here and type it's in group, and I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put this one to this place. Now this is very important, because when you do something, this is the group we're going to be using, and we're going to be using a group called player. This player has not been created yet, so to create it, I'm going to go into my player, select my character body 2D, and I'm going to go into my nodes again. But this time around, instead of using signal, I'm going to be using what we call groups. So this is the basics of Godot 4.4. You can be able to use this to extrapolate, to learn other things you can be able to do. So if I click on the groups here, I can be able to create plus here, and I will type player. I want it to be seen globally. It can be seen from any place. So you can give a description for that, and I will just click on OK. Once I click on it, if you look at here, this shows that it's in a particular group. So that means that that group can be sensed by, when you actually write a code that senses only that particular one. I'm going to click on copy. So when I click on copy right now, I'm going to go over to my orchestrator, go back to my coin, go over here to where I have the group, and I'll paste that particular group here. So that's what it's going to be sensing. So whenever this group is sensed, I'm going to get a branch. So right click and get a branch, and I'm going to put this here and put this to be the condition. The condition is whenever is a player, then it's going to do something. So what should you do? We want you to be able to update the value of the coin. So to do that, I need to get a value of the coin. So now this is a bit tricky, so you need to actually know how to navigate here. So right now I'm in my coins here. I'm going to go into my my main scene. If you click on your main scene right now, you see that you have this. Make sure you're in an inspector, so you see that you have the coins over here. But the problem is that whenever you go back to your main scene, automatically it goes back to the main scripts. Okay, but that's not what you want. You want it to be in the coin OS, okay, or coin script, okay. But once you click, it goes back again, so you have to click it back again and then click back on orchestrator back again. So when you do this back and forth, okay, the idea is that you want to make sure that the main script is, the main scene is selected, and the main, that exported coin variable is here. That's what you are really trying to do. So that's, and then the coin is actually active here. That's what you're trying to actually achieve. Once you do that, you can now drag this out from here. You can get coin, you drag it out again, and set coin. So this is all you need to do. Just put this here, put this up here, and then add this in here. That's what you need to do. So you want, whenever this happens, you want it to delay. Right click and delay. So immediately you don't want it to touch the coin and it's still there. You want it to delay for, let's say, about 0.2 seconds, and it will still delete it. So you do Q3. So remember, it will also delete after a particular point in time, okay, after that's from the coin itself, from the timer that we actually give the spawner. It spawns it, after a while it deletes it. Also, the coin itself also deletes itself after a particular, whenever the player touches it, it also deletes itself. That's another thing that causes it to delete itself. So just bear that in mind. So let me just reiterate here. Whenever the body is touched, and if it's a player, it will check it. That's branches if statement. Then what it will do, it will get the value, whatever is the value of the coin, and it's going to set that to the coin, and then it will delay and release. So, but what you need to do here now, this is the important part. We need to do what we call math operation. So we want it to add the value, because right now it is 0. So we need to add 1 to the value of the initial value of coin. So to do that, I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to add an operator for adding value. So I'm going to right click and put addition. So this is how to do operation, or use an operator inside Visual Scripting. So you right click and get your integer. If you see here, if I put addition, if you go to integer, you have your addition for integers. So I'm going to just get that and put this here, and I'm going to put my +1 here. So that's the get coin, and we'll have this here, and that's how you can be able to add the value. Okay, but right now the value is being added to the variable in the main, but it's not being updated on the screen, on the label. Remember, we'll have our UI here. UI is here and it's not being updated yet. We need it to update it. So we're going to try out something. We're going to try to update it directly from this scene here, and I hope you should be able to update in this thing. If it doesn't, that means I will have to do it directly. So don't worry, I'm going to make you understand what I just said now. So right here, I'm going to go back to my main. Let me make sure I've saved my coin scripts. Go back to your main. Remember, we have updated it. So we're going to add, we have a variable already here. So we're going to add a function. The function here will be the physics process. We need to use the physics process for this. So once, whenever the game starts, with the progress of the game, is going to be updating the time, updating the value of the coin. So once we do this, we're going to drag this out, get the value of the coin, okay, and then we're going to go to my UI. So get the value of the coin, get to my UI, and the UI, let me show you here. This one is the 0 here. This one is the text. So we're going to be updating this value here. So go into orchestrator. Once you select this, you can drag this value out like we did before when we're doing the basics of variables. Drag this in here, set text, and you can just drag this here and tell it to be the value. Just put the coin. It's going to get this value, and that will be what it's going to be doing. So just save this. For the sake of testing it, I'm going to, okay, let me just do it from here and play this, and let's see what happens when we play the game. So what we are expecting the game to do is that when we play the game, whenever the player touches the coin, it should increase the value of the UI. That's the value of the coin in the UI. That's what we want it to do. So we can be able to move, and it's not working yet. Okay, it's not working yet. So let's close that. So what we need to do now, I'm going to try out something. Now sometimes when you use a particular scene that is outside a code, okay, sometimes it doesn't appear because of connection issues and all those stuff. So what I usually like doing is that if that scene is instantiated, so if you go into your main, you see that we'll have the UI here. Okay, I will now use that coin counter in this particular place. So I will right click here. Look what I'm going to do. Right click here, and I'm going to make the children editable. Okay, so this will give me a direct link to the UI that is being used here, not the UI in the main scene. That's the scene where I instantiated it from. It's going to be using the UI from this one that is being instantiated in the main. So this will help you in such a fashion that if you use this UI in another scene, maybe another scene completely different, they will not be conflicting. Okay, so that's just the idea there. So I'm going to come up here and make sure you selected this, and I will be using this. So just drag this out and drop this and set text. Put this here and put this here. Now the difference is that if you look at here, once you click on this, you see that it gives you a more direct link. So UI control and coin counter here. But if you, the one we did from here, if you look at it, the code, let me just see, set coin. If you click on it, it just gives you only coin counter. It doesn't give you the direct link. Okay, so that's the reason why we are using the one from the main scene, the one directly from the main scene here. So save this and let's try this out again and play. So we have stayed for our live for over 2 hours now. So if you have any comments, you can just put, because I'm going to round up for today. So I can move. Yep, and I have my coin. I have increased the value. So but my game keeps on crashing for reasons unknown to me. So and it keeps on telling me, the error it keeps on telling me is display server windows, switching to angle, that my display is having some issues with the OpenGL, the quality. So I believe it's just my graphics card that I don't have. That is the reason why it's always crashing. So probably when I get a better system, I can be able to resolve that. So but basically this entire game has been created. I will just go ahead to do something to make this game. Let me see. Let me go back to my spawner. So my spawner now, I'm going to go into the spawner and I'm going to do something to it so that I will reduce this problem that it's actually doing. So I'm going to just remove this and that. So let me just do that. And if I play, let me see if it's the spawning that is actually causing the problem. So I'm just trying to debug a bit of my code here. So if I move right now, let's see, it comes, it deletes, okay, it gets it, it appears. Okay, I believe it's the thing that does that. So you see, it just keeps on taking it. So but what we notice, I think we're going to just leave it this way. We're going to just remove that because that spawning is having some issues. This delay and deleting from this side is having some issues. So we're going to leave it there. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go back to my coin and I will remove this delay before it deletes it. So I'll just do it directly. So once you collect it, because if you notice, whenever it touches it like twice, and the value comes up to 2 times. So once you're touching it, it deletes completely. That's what we need to have in this particular place. So right now I need to just come up here and let's create some other few things. So I'll go into my main scene, and I have my spawner here. So I'm going to create a new spawner, duplicate, and have another spawner over there, duplicate, have another spawner over here, duplicate, and have another spawner over here. I think I'll leave this one there. So let's see how much you're going to be spawning. If it's going to be too much, let's see if we can be able to have multiple points where it will spawn, and let's see how we can be able to actually get those things. We can talk about maybe our game over in another session on our life. So if I move, okay, that's good. Okay, this one comes up. Oh, this one comes up. It's still doing 2 times. So we need to do that. So, but the problem is that it's not going off on its own. So until you come to delete it, that's when it deletes. So that's not what we want. We want it to be able to delete on its own. So, but this is just basically what we can be able to do. So, but one of the things I'm noticing here is that it's increasing more than the time that we need it to increase. So, if you go into your coin, let's see why it's doing that. It should be able to set this value. And increase by 1. So probably there might be a reason why it's always doing that. So, but that is not normal. It should not be happening. Okay, let me just see if I delete this before I set the value. I think that will solve the problem. So that's for order of code. So we'll have, after you have deleted the code, then increase the value of the coin. That's what we're going to do right now. So we'll just save that. So we'll come back to resolving the problem of it staying. We want it to delete itself after a while. We want it to just disappear or delete itself after a while. So we'll have this. So we'll just get this, and it's still giving me more than one value, because it seems like it's appearing almost automatically. It's appearing almost automatically. So let's see why it's appearing almost automatically. So we need to go over to our spawn coin, and we're going to increase the time for appearing to about 3 seconds. So it's not going to be 1 second anymore. So it's going to be taking some time. Then for our coin, let's see here. We already set it. If it does this, this what has a value. Okay. Let's see what we can be able to do. I want you to be able to delete. So let me see if we use Q for deletion. Let me see if this will work for us. Nope, that will not work for us. So I'll do Q3 again. Let me do Q3 again. And I hope it's not going to keep on putting the error up any longer. So let's play again and see. So if you have been online, you can always rewatch this video. It's a long one. You can be able to actually see how I made the game. So let us see what happened. So you can move. Okay, you take. Okay, so that resolves the problem. It goes off automatically. It's still giving me some issues. So it's updating, but the time in is a problem. and also it's not deleting after a while. So let me just see why it's doing that. Oh, I think I put this in the wrong place. I am meant to put this in the spawn coin. So the spawn coin is where we want it to. After it's just delay for a while, or probably we might test out using a timer node. Q deletes, Q free, and then we'll just put this here. So I think I will make this to be 1 second. So let's see if this doesn't work. That means we'll need to work on our codes more to be able to verify what is lacking. So thank you everyone that joined us for the live. It was an amazing live. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so that was good.